to the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast.
Oh, wow. Welcome back to the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast. This is episode number 68. And if you're wondering why there was a bit of an exclamation of joy and excitement, that is because this is a very, very special episode, and indeed a special time, as Warzone itself is turning 2 years old, and to celebrate that, we got something special on dock for you, but that's not coming until a little later in this episode, so you better stick with us. Don't be one of those scrubbers out there jumping ahead, because as always, it's going to be jam-packed from top to bottom, start to finish, as Warzone is really hitting new highs. We discussed all these new TTKs being adjusted, the new iron trials. Well, we've been digging in, getting our fill this week, and that's why I gotta turn to the 10-inch cowboy, the valiant, loyal, not newly, but certainly locked in co-host here, and ask you, cowboy, how was your week in the Warzone?
Wow, thank you for that. Yes, locked in is right. I've been playing out of my mind this last week. I feel like I've hit a new level. All of a sudden, it's like it's been stripped away. It's like putting I don't know. It's like giving a blind person those glasses, or not blind, but colorblind, and you give them the glasses, and all of a sudden they can see color and they start weeping out of pure joy. That's how I've been this last week. Absolutely shredding. For all our blind listeners out there, I'm sorry about that. I hope I didn't offend anybody. But also taking a new approach to this game right now, or to the podcast recording. Your boy is, listen to this, cracking a beer as we record. I usually don't do this. I like to keep my head straight, but you know what? It's a beautiful Sunday afternoon as we record out here in the California mountains, and I want to enjoy a beer. So that's what's going on. Good week, good vibes. You know, I'm just trying to not be as stressed out when I play Warzone. We're going to talk a little bit about iron trials, and let me just tell you, the frustration levels have been high because you have to kill them a little bit longer, as I'm sure we're going to dig into, but yeah, we'll save that. But I've been getting just destroyed in iron trials, but everything else going really well. A couple of double-digit kill games for your boy this week. Yeah, new level of focus. How was your week in the Warzone? We played a few times. I know you've been really busy, but we were able to hop in a few times.
Yes, I mean, you know, first off, cheers back to the cowboy. Cheers to all our listeners around the world. A lot to celebrate here in the Warzone and on the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast, and community at large. Had some really awesome engagements this week, comments on the Discord, on Twitter, on email. But that said, while limited, you know, while the quantity wasn't there, the quality was certainly, I would say, high. Capping off, yes, with our most recent session, I think it was yesterday as of the date of this recording, I think we got only maybe 4 matches, but 2 of which were victories. Hard-fought, real well-coordinated victories on Rebirth trios. But having fun. The vibes were great. The kills were on point. We were moving. We were doing it as a team. So, yeah, my level, I mean, I'm really happy with the Warzone. I've been chasing... My main kind of focus this week is chasing that new Vargo AR. All the feedback's been kind of overwhelmingly positive. It seems like that's the move right now. So I'm, as of this recording, I think I have 7 or 8 of the 15 unlocked. But been a great week in the Warzone.
Tell us about that Vargo for people that are not familiar with it, because I had no idea. I know we talked about it being released and it was a new Cold War gun. But what do you have to do to get it unlocked?
So yes, as if you've taken a look at the gun in Warzone, you'll see they still haven't fixed it, oddly enough, but the unlock requirements are bugged. It just has a generic placeholder text there. But what you need to do is get 1,000 damage with an AR in 15 separate matches. However, at least from my experience, it seems like it might not be registering very well in Rebirth. I didn't really try my hand at Caldera, but I know us and our friends have been actively chasing that, building specifically dual AR loadouts so that we can ensure we're only getting damage with ARs. And you got, like we'll be registering 1,500 damage games and still not getting an unlock, but that is how you do it.
Let me put it this way. This last week, I was in a quads match on Rebirth. Your boy dropped 10 kills. One of the best. I think that's a tied for my personal record. 10 kill game. And I was running that AR loadout that I built specifically for this. It was a short range Cooper carbine. And then I had in my other secondary slot, I had the KG M40, which I am totally torqued on that gun. I think the KG M40 is going to fully be the next meta. It is a total fucking laser beam, no question about it. It doesn't slap as hard as some other guns, but the recoil is so low you don't miss shots. It's crazy. Long story short, your boy drops a 10 bomb AR loadout and it didn't register for me. I don't even know how much damage I had that game. We're talking thousands upon thousands of damage, AR damage, and I didn't register it as a one of the games I scored 1,000. So there's definitely something bugged, but maybe you should explain this. You told me a little trick about, leveling up your AR and getting your damage up in the old Plunder.
Yeah, that brings us to our first topic. Typically, we usually have them at the end of the show, but this is an old tip here directly from the Tron. Haven't dropped into Plunder really at all on the new Caldera, but with this new unlock that I'm thirsting for, again, it's from what it's described, it's like the Cold War AK, but lower recoil, easier to control, better damage at range, right in the old Tron man's wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to hop back in Plunder because I'm not going to just keep chasing this in Rebirth only to be denied. And I learned a lot of things. For one is, where's the fucking place to drop? I dropped like Chemical Factory because I'm like, oh, this is the new building area. I found like 2 guys in a whole match, so that sucked. Then I went over to Peak, nobody there, so that was kind of frustrating. You're like, hey, I'm in here to get kills. Where's the action at? Back on Verdansk, you would drop the storage area. I think that was the hot spot in Plunder. Well, I figured had to be. Reached out to our community, our friends at large, the old best loyal friend of the podcast, Spark, said airfield is the move, and that is the move indeed. Drop the airfield. There is a large hangar. I believe it's on like the west side or the north side of the airfield. I like to drop right on that roof, but all those surrounding hangars, that is where you'll find the action. So in terms of spaces to go, that's what I recommend. But in terms of weapons to rock, I was doing the overkill, but I realized I was dying a little bit, so I don't need that. So my recommendation for Plunder chasing this AR unlock is get yourself an STG. I think it's one of the, MG40 would work too if you got it leveled up, but you want the long range Vanguard AR because right now it's
M40.
KG M40. Because right now it's Vanguard Plunder, so you cannot use outside guns. And also, side note, they do not track damage in Plunder, but I'll get to that. So I rock the STG, pretty standard meta build. However, in my one perk slot, I think it's perk slot 2 on the gun, I do sleight of hand because I'm going to be going through ammo, obviously fully loaded. Then you set a munitions box as your field upgrade because, again, you're going to be pouring through the bullets here. And finally, though, go for tempered as your perk slot 2 because that means in Plunder, you drop in fully plated where everyone else doesn't do that, they got 2 out of 3 plates. So again, you land the roof, you're going to be beaming people far and wide, and I found in terms of making sure I hit that 1,000 damage threshold, because you can quit out, it will register without a completed match, is I like to get 8 kills. I found 100% success rate so far with that. I even last night tried to push it, I quit out after 7 kills. I learned a fucking hard lesson. I didn't get the unlock because I'm a greedy bastard. So yeah, roof of the hangars, STG long range with fucking tempered and sleight of hand or whatever the shit. And you're going to get that thing after 8 kills. Do that 15 times. The Vargo will be yours as it will be mine.
Great advice. Great tips. I have 2 points to that. One, I don't understand why you have to kill 8 people if each person's health is 250, right?
Well, that's fully plated, but the majority of people don't get plates when they drop into Vanguard. You drop in with 2 out of 3.
Yeah, but 250 times 8 is like 1800, right? So like even if you got half that,
some guys you kill are already getting shot by other people. It gets messy. And I kind of set that as a threshold, and it hasn't steered me wrong. And again, I tried 7. I tried to push it, but it didn't work. So
yeah, I mean, maybe this is, you do like to steal other people's kills, so maybe you actually weren't doing as much damage as you had thought with the 8 kill number. But the next point I would make is that, the STG I've actually come around on the STG. I really do like the STG. I've gotten a couple of gold ground loot STGs, and I like that weapon. It has something about the fire rate and the way it hits and its recoil. I enjoy it. I'm no longer on the non-STG bandwagon, but if you want to level up a new AR, and you haven't touched the KGM40, you need to try that gun. And I think if you're going to be going in a plunder, getting a bunch of kills, start leveling that weapon. I had it at like a level 23, and that's obviously not nearly the full build out. It is a laser beam. Like it is as like the little recoil that the Bren had when the Bren was broken. It like doesn't move at all. It's crazy, this gun. I'm telling you, this is going to be the next thing. If it isn't already, I'd like to think I'm pretty in touch with the community. This thing has to be the next thing, and I don't hear a ton of people talking about it. KGM40, that's the only change I'd make. I'd use that weapon, so you can start leveling that up, because most people probably have that STG already pretty high on the old leveling platform. So I'd throw this KGM40 and start working on that as well. 2 birds, 1 stone.
I mean, I haven't heard the Cowboy this smitten with the weapon since maybe going back to like the Krig. During that meta heyday.
I like this more than the Krig. I do.
Wow. So yeah. I think that's fantastic advice. 2 birds, you're double dipping there. You're leveling up one gun while working towards unlocking another. To me, that makes sense. I'm convinced I might even do that. But the main thing is, you want that long range. You're not really going to want to drop in with like a Cooper or some of these shorter ARs, because from what I found, your engagements are way longer range on this plunder setup that I've set on the airfield.
Yes, I think that the Cooper may have... I hear your point is made. I do think the Cooper is a bad example, because the Cooper is incredible at distance. It's absolutely incredible. Do yourself a favor, drop in with a Cooper. You don't even have to build a long-range Cooper, right? Build like a mid-range or a sniper support, or even, hell, a short-range Cooper, whatever. When you're dropping in and you're in like that 1 minute pregame lobby where you can just fuck around, throw that Cooper out there and try to hit somebody from 100 meters away. It's unbelievable how accurate and how much damage you inflict on people from range with the Cooper. It's crazy. I mean, if the KGM40 wasn't on my leveling radar and trying to unlock the Vargo, which I do want to mess around with the Vargo, I would be building a long range Cooper loadout and sticking to it. That gun surprises me. Every time I turn and need something different from it, it surprises me. The Cooper, still the most well-rounded weapon in the game, in my opinion. No question about it.
Wow. Listen to this passion, this conviction from the 10-inch We have come such a long way since the beginnings of these podcast recordings, which, again, you might be hearing more about that later on this episode, so please stick around as we want to celebrate 2 years of Warzone. But that said, that was our first topic, plunder, recommendations, tips there, as the Cowboy is endorsed the KGM40 strongly. Again, not firsthand, secondhand, also endorsing this new Vargo AR. Cooper as well, great. I'm still, STG still solid. And oddly enough, while I was doing those rebirth rounds with dual ARs, I came around to doing M13 as my short range build, and I gotta say, I know, I'm a bit biased, but if you build that M13 for short range, it fucking kind of slaps as an SMG with that fire rate. So I've been kind of surprised by that.
Doesn't it still have like a high neck head multiplier or something?
I think it's always had one of the highest headshot multipliers in the game. The fire rate is insane. The issue is you would burn through ammo, and the ADS wasn't great, but the way I've built it, I have no optic. I have like a stippled grip tape, the tack laser, and then like a removed stock 60-round mag, and then like a barrel on it. Oh yeah, the Cyclone barrel, which also gives you a suppressor built in, like 2-for-1. It's kind of dope. Like, the mobility isn't great, but I'm winning toe-to-toe fights with motherfuckers, even winning ones where they have the jump on me, because it's still a beam. So that's kind of been fun to get back to that.
Just to kind of sum up what we're talking about, the state of ARs in the game right now is off the charts, no?
I agree. I think the state of the meta and these new changes, like the new mantling, being able to mantle up higher places, all these things, the new plating mechanic where you don't burn through the old one, like, they've really improved so many things lately. I think it's sad. I feel like a lot of the player base was lost over these last months or this last second year of Warzone, but if you've been thinking about it, you're out there. Come back, baby. Like, the water is just as warm as it's ever been.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty nice. It's getting sweatier. It's harder for the amateurs, but there's a lot of fun weapons.
A lot of fun weapons. And speaking of new weaponry, I guess maybe not, I don't know the classifications, but in terms of equipment that can do some damage, we touched on it way back when Season 2 was announced and all the details dropped, but it wasn't live. Well, that has changed, and that is the Nova 6 bomb. Those are now in the game. They're not available on Rebirth, but they are. If you're in Plunder, you'll fucking hear hundreds of them going on.
Oh, yeah.
But Caldera as well. I myself have not used one, but I went and looked online, watched it. It's essentially, you got to deploy it. You set a timer. I think it's a 20-second timer. And then it explodes. It essentially creates like Nova 6. It's the same gas as the circle, but in a radius. And I gotta say, the explosion radius I saw, it looked fucking massive. Have you encountered these at all, these Nova 6 bombs?
Yeah, actually, while I was plundering and trying to level up my KGM40 and get those Vargo 1,000 damage games, I dropped, as you had suggested, into the airport area of Caldera. And I'm there, and all of a sudden, a warning goes off, and it's like, oh, the bomb's coming. And I'm like, oh, cool, whatever. And I didn't really notice the radius of it. I didn't like open the map and be like, oh, where do I have to go to get safe? I was just like, okay, well, when it starts coming, I'll run away. Well, it came fast, and I was not ready. And I died in that gas. And I tried to, it started to get me, and I was like, oh shit, okay, I'll keep running. And like, I think I had gotten in a gunfight before that. So like I think I didn't have my plates on, and I was kind of just spacing out. You know what I mean? I wasn't really prepared for it. And it kind of, you have to be running away from the perimeter of the gas because it slowly spreads out. But it's just low enough to where you can outrun it. But it also, if you're not paying attention, like you can get caught behind it and you are dead. I mean, it's gas. It definitely gets you. And yeah, I died the first time. And then the radius of it was like all of the airport and more. All the airport and some more. I got pushed all the way to, what's like northwest of the airport a little bit. It's the little huts in the water, little marshland area. I got pushed all the way out there, and I was on that roof in airport that you'd recommended I go. So yeah, it's huge area. So if you definitely want to take a peek on where it's going, it shows you where the final perimeter will end up, and it kind of just breathes outward until it gets to that point. And then all of a sudden, like clockwork, once it reaches the perimeter, it like then after a second goes away. So it's kind of a weird mechanic, but it's certainly something to respect.
Certainly a new wrinkle in the fabric of the Battle Royale experience. Obviously on Plunder, it's not a big deal. You die or whatever, you come back. But, that's a game changer in terms of regular BR, especially I feel like late game. You're going to make a move or clear out an area or kind of set a trap and pin a team behind you. The old gatekeeping technique, which I've always been a fan of. This, I think, just elevates that even more. From what I've seen, it seems like a cool addition. The only part that threw me off is they're like, oh, a Nova 6 bomb has been deployed. And then it's like tactical nuke inbound. And I was like, what the fuck? There's tactical nukes? But that's just what they're referring to this bomb. It's not like there's the nuke. Because in Cowboy, you probably don't realize this, but there was a kill streak in the Call of Duties where you would call in a nuke and it would just end the fucking match. You would nuke the whole fucking map, the match would end. And it would say tactical nuke inbound. And I was like, what? That shit's here? But
and then it's the end of the match? Wow.
Yeah. But that was just the soundbite, not in the actual game. But the Nova 6 bombs they're not even Nova 6 bombs. They're, what's the fucking gas? Something 5? Nebula 5. Sorry, they're Nebula 5 bombs. I haven't even been referring to them right. So apologies to the Activision brass who I know are listening. for getting that lingo incorrect. It happens when you literally, it's the same fucking thing as Nova 6, let's be real.
Yeah, it really is, yeah.
Well, speaking of the same but different, speaking of new things coming, and we know Warzone 2 is being developed, we know it's on the way, but there is another Warzone offering that was just announced that's going to be coming, which was surprising to see. And with the success of Call of Duty Mobile, it's not surprising as they are now bringing Warzone Mobile incoming here. They're hiring for it. So if you're out there, you work on that shit, Google that. But no real details beyond that. But what do you think about this?
Wait, mobile, like you could play it on your phone?
Yeah, it's going to be a mobile-only version of Warzone.
I thought I saw Dr. Disrespect playing that like last year. He was playing Warzone Mobile.
No, he was playing Call of Duty Mobile, which is its own thing, very popular. But it's more, it's the more like match-based game. This is now going to be a Warzone for mobile phones.
Got it.
Tablets.
I thought that he was in a battle royale game, but whatever. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of funny because the game is so intense when you're playing it either on a controller or on your PC. You're using every bit of your brain and your fingertips to like use the control. It's such a precise game, right? I don't understand how you can be this precise playing something on your phone, but that maybe I'm an idiot and that's just me and I don't know gaming enough, but you see what I'm saying?
I mean yeah. I'm wondering if people really excel by like they hook up a controller, you need that.
But that would be so stupid. Like you have to hook up a controller to play the game on a smaller scale. Like what are we talking about here? No, you got to play with your fingers, right?
I don't know. And the screen's way smaller, like even on the big iPhones, that's even with the, I don't know, the FOVs, it's probably not a thing in that fucking thing, but that's a limitation. And the other thing is I'm just amazed, like the phones could be able to run that because I'm sure the player count's going to be somewhat high. Probably not 150, maybe, but that's a lot. And the way they're describing it is it's going to be a large-scale battle royale experience natively for mobile with cutting-edge technology designated to entertain gamers around the world for many years to come. It's early in development. As we said, there's job openings even for it now. And I guess there's an Apex Legends mobile. So we'll see, how if they can take a slice of that pie. But it sounds like that's a big space. There's the mobile shooters. So if you're a big mobile guy or girl, probably excited about this.
Yeah, I mean, are we going to turn this into the mobile Warzone Amateur Hour podcast?
I mean, if it's free and I can download it, I certainly think we'll probably give it a go so we can talk about it. But I think we'll be sticking to the consoles for, the long term.
Yeah, I agree. I have no problem trying it. That's a great point I didn't think about. The amount of like processing power that a game like this would have to use from your phone is substantial, right? Like, and then it's like, how much... Hope you got enough data if you're not connected to the internet, because I'm sure this is going to eat up a lot of your data if you're on a limited plan.
Fuck, I mean, we can't even. Yeah, it's going to go out. You're going to need the extra bandwidth there.
Big time.
We'll see how it goes. It seems some people are hardcore about the Call of Duty Mobile. That's a whole scene. You can go out there. There's the streamers out there. They're #1 in the world. They shred. I didn't watch any of that Dr. Disrespect stream for that, unsure, but I'm sure that's really going to be the foundation for it, is that Call of Duty Mobile.
Yeah, I'm sure, for sure.
Well, that's really it for Warzone news. In terms of looking forward, though, there could be some changes upcoming on the podcast. I know it's Cowboy's kind of leading this as our kind of business leader here on the Warzone Amateur Hour Empire, and we're could be hearing a potential change here on the episode as we dip our toes into some monetization. And I don't know if you want to share, but will we be seeing some advertising coming to the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast?
I don't know. I think that we have a shot at it here. We have the listener base, and we basically have applied for a program that basically starts pairing you with advertisers. We like to pull the curtain back on everything that we do. So yeah, there is a chance that we may be getting some advertising. So you may be hearing some fresh, hot reads coming out on the podcast. Be sure to listen to them. I'm sure there'll be like, codes that you go into sites and buy shit for, I guess. I'm not sure exactly how it works. We're still figuring that out. Probably pretty sure we're going to The first thing that's going to be offered to us is some ED medication because they're going to see the 10-Inch Cowboy and think, they're just going to think that, I have a feeling. But no shame in that. We'll see what happens here. But still, yeah, very much TBD. Surprised you brought that up. I don't think that's going to be any time like in the next week or two, but it might be. Who knows? I mean, like as we said before, we're willing to sell out big time for the cash, baby. We play the game. You pay us the cash. That's bada bing, bada boom. That's why we're doing it, right?
Well, yeah, the Tron always believes in transparency and integrity and being open with our community. So I wanted to provide a heads up that, that's something we might be working on, something you might be hearing. We're not sure when those will occur. But if that's the case, just know if you end up supporting that or even just listening through it, that you'll be doing us a service. So we appreciate that. And to our future sponsors, whether it's ED medication or anything, we got a hell of a platform here. Quite a reach, so come at us.
Yeah, I'll read anything. You give me anything and I'll read it. No questions asked.
Well, that really brings us now to the Piece de Resistance. This is a new thing. I haven't really done anything like this on the Warzone Amateur Hour, but I thought it might be a good idea because as you've heard, even just this episode, things have changed so much. We've been going now on this podcast for over a year strong, and this thing called Warzone has now been going on for 2 years. So much has changed. I find it's always enriching and rewarding to look back. And so with that in mind, what we're going to do here for the end of this episode is take a look back at our debut episode, which was published way back in 2020. I believe it was December, I think 13th was the exact date of 2020. Little fledgling cowboy, little Tron boy, hopping on the mic, decided, let's make a podcast about Warzone from the perspective of the amateurs. So we got a few select clips that we're going to play for y'all to refresh your memories. But please, by all means, go back, listen to that episode and our whole catalog for that matter. But to kick it off, we're going to start at the beginning and revisit our first clip here, which is the original intro. So without further ado, we will play that now. Welcome to the debut episode
of the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast.
Wow, it has been a very long time since I've heard that. I haven't heard that. It's been a year or more, right? It's been like 14, 15 months since I've heard that.
Yeah, I think that was only in place for our first 3, maybe 4 or 5 episodes until, again, Disco Turkey, incredibly talented artists, came in and delivered what you hear now every week, which was our incredibly kick-ass intro song.
So did you add like more reverb to the welcome back, or did you re-record that? Because that sounded so different to me than usual.
I did re-record it. If you actually listen closely, you can hear I kind of even stumble during that fucking intro, and I should have re-recorded it from the beginning, but it was too late. I'm like, welcome back to the war. It's like a stumble there. But really speaks to our humble beginnings. I put that intro together in GarageBand. I was like, we need something to get off. And immediately, if you listen to the episode, your immediate reaction was just horror.
Did you record that guitar riff?
No, that's all loops in GarageBand.
Oh, got it. Okay, I was gonna say, dang, that was pretty good.
Oh, see, now you've warmed up. Look at how much has changed.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just nostalgia. You can't fight nostalgia.
Oh, all right. Well, I had to throw that in there again. Disco Turkey dropping a shredder, firebomb, ripper, fucking banger on our existing one. I rock out to it every time, and I hope you all do the same. That one he did record live instruments. Killer musician. Check him out. Support his shit. But that said, let's move on to our second clip, which is where we kind of introduce and welcome you all to the Warzone Amateur Hour. And I'm curious if you feel after listening to this, if it's still true to this day. All right. Welcome everyone here. We're here. This is the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast. First of its kind, first of its ilk, first episode. So thanks so much to all the viewers or listeners out there who are taking part in this monumental moment. I'm sure we will look back on this podcast years from now, after we've built a media empire, and really reflect on these humble beginnings. But yes, welcome here. This is a podcast dedicated to all things Call of Duty Warzone, except unlike what you've probably heard or seen out there, this time we're bringing it to you from the perspective of two regular ass dudes.
Yeah, we're just regular ass dudes. I suck. I personally am terrible at Warzone. I average, maybe 0 to 2 kills a game at best. Yesterday I had my best game of my life where I had 6 kills. But typically I die without kills. Wow. You just had to throw that out there to remind me how much I sucked back in the day. What strikes me about that is that you sound like 10 years younger for some reason. I don't know why, but you sound so young and like naive when you're introducing it. I feel like I feel like I'm like 15 years younger in that for some reason. I don't know why.
I mean, we were boys at heart. Maybe it's just, the years of being in the war zone. It'll put a toll on your body, your soul, your heart. But that said, we're looking back on it as we promised, maybe not years from now, but a year from now. We're building this media empire. You all who are listening have been with us from the beginning, or if you're joining us, we love you all. You're part of that. But again, let's turn to the Cowboy. Look at the change there. A man who claims he sucks. He averages 0 to 1 to 2 kills a game. Again, that was before Rebirth, but still. Look, let's reflect on, how that has changed. How would you now assess yourself and compared to that old Cowboy?
Well, I mean, I think that I've definitely I've put in, I don't even know how many hours I've put into playing this game since we started that first recording. It's a lot of hours. So yeah, I'm definitely better at the game. I mean, I'm still technically an amateur, I'm not getting paid like a pro, baby. But I mean, it's funny. Like I remember it brought me back to Verdansk where I would struggle to get a kill, Verdansk was hard. It's not like Rebirth. Like you have to invest the time. You're dropping in, you're gunning up, you're getting ready. And it's like, at that point, we definitely played with friends, but like, we didn't have this giant community to play with like we do now. It was like, I played solos a lot, which was so frustrating when you just are terrible at the game. A lot has changed. It's crazy.
Well, speaking of, what you used to do, what was going on, you had an interesting bit shortly after that intro where you talk about why you were taking part in the podcast to begin with. And again, I'm curious to play that and see how you reflect if that's changed. So let's dive into that.
There's a lot of frustration because I'm so bad, and most of the days that I play Warzone, I leave thinking I fucking hate this game. I'm never going to play again. There's too many good people out there. I suck. But for some reason, I always come back. And I think that for me, this podcast will, just talking about it and thinking about it and maybe learning a little strategy along the way, may help me become a better player. Not that I really care to become a better player, frankly, but I think it would be funner when I invest my time in playing the game if I knew more about it. So that's where I'm coming from. Wow, I'm like a prophet over here, Yeah. What were you going to say something?
Well, just first off, I gotta ask, is that same feeling of why do I play this game every time you hop on? Is that, I mean, I feel like I know the answer, but I'm curious, has that changed?
No, it hasn't changed at all. A lot of the time I'm like, fuck this fucking game. Basically, every time we sit down for a session, there's at least one point where I say, I'm never fucking playing this game again. I hate this fucking game. But then, it comes in waves, and it fits exactly the same way. And it's funny because I have gotten better at the game. I do understand the strategy a little bit more. I put in the hours, but it hasn't changed anything, And then it's funny. I like how I'm like, I don't really care to get better. It's not about getting better, but the thing is I'm right. Getting better makes the game more enjoyable, especially, I mean, I wouldn't have predicted that the baseline level of gameplay has gone astronomically up, and you have to be good to enjoy the game now. But it's funny.
Yeah, pretty remarkable that, these sentiments, the way we felt back then, after I wasn't even that deep into it. You were very, new, but it's really kind of remained the same. We still keep coming back. We're still using this podcast as a means to try and help the amateurs improve, but it's still, as you've said, it's just so frustrating. I think we utter it. This game fucking sucks. Why do I play it? I'm done. I'm quitting. The podcast is finished. But again, the next day, the next time, we log back in. We keep it going. But that brings us to our next clip, which to me, I think is maybe the most controversial, or certainly one worth discussing the most, looking back on. And that is when we introduce our show and describe in our minds, back at the onset, what this show was about. So let's go ahead and share that initial description now. In terms of what this show is, the Cowboy touched on it quite a bit. If you're out there, you stumbled across this podcast somehow. First off, God bless you. Thanks for coming.
Yes, thank you.
But, if you're out there and you were looking for like the cutting edge source of breaking news, you want the in-depth analysis about all the new strategies, the new blueprints, and you want to keep tabs on what these big streamers are doing, this is not the podcast for you. You've come to the wrong place.
Get the fuck out of here. Get out.
On the flip side, if you're like an average Joe, you work 40 hours a week, you're getting bitched at by your spouse for playing the game too much, but you still love it. You still come back to it even after getting your ass kicked. And you're looking for like a community that's a bit less hardcore than the 90% of the shit you're seeing out there. Then welcome, baby. We're the men for you. We're the family for you here. We're here for honest, open discussion about Warzone,
Wow.
So I gotta ask, with that, a year on, reflecting what we do now, week in and week out, do you feel we've been true to that description, or are we frauds and we've kind of become everything we said we wouldn't?
I kind of feel like we've become everything we said we wouldn't. I mean, factually, I think you say off the top of that clip, you say something along the lines of, we're not going to give you like the what the new strategies are or whatever. Literally off the top of every show we do now, we talk about what's new, what the strategies are, what the best guns are. Like we're feeding that information to become, a sweatier player. I just think it's hard to separate, like helping the amateur is helping them become sweatier. You know what I'm saying?
I think I'm torn. On one hand, I do think we definitely, I don't think expected to really dive into becoming a weekly show where we really get into the nitty gritty of what's going on. But I think what we didn't realize is we could provide the amateur perspective of that. Like, here's the new patch, here's the new news. But this is how it affects you. But that said, on the flip side, we're not sharing about what the big streamers are doing. We're not endorsing like, no. This is the fucking new sweat lord. Like, run this, do the rose skin, and screw the system and fucking get the broken in PPSH and drop 40 kills, bro. This is me. So I think overall, and then we talked about it's for the common player, the guys that are working the 9 to 5, the family men, which I myself am now, just trying to squeeze it in, trying to stay up to date. I think in the end, we've been true to our vision. I think we've become a little sweatier than maybe we anticipated, but I think we're still true to that.
Yeah, I agree. I think our intentions haven't changed. That's for damn sure.
But let's move on to our next clip, which is kind of purely, to me, it was just hilarious to hear. But to hear you frame it was interesting because, again, we forgot it, is that Warzone dropped at the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic when not everyone, but so many people were in lockdown, you were at home. It became an escape, and certainly that's what prompted the Cowboy to join it. But you reflected on that your interest in love of the Warzone might be short-lived. So let's go ahead and revisit that now.
A lot of people got involved with Call of Duty, obviously, during the pandemic this year, being stuck at home, having nothing to do, being stuck with your significant other, trying to get away mentally, physically, just escaping in some way. So if you're going to quit playing COD, when when the quarantine's over and the pandemic's passed and everyone's happy again, that's cool too. Like, and that's probably what I'm going to do, to be honest, unless something exciting.
Christ. We're talking about building a media empire. Now you're already saying, yeah, I'll probably fucking walk away,
I mean, I say that, but dude, I say that every time I play COD because it always is so frustrating for me. Like, I aim at people and I swear I hit them before they hit me, but I die every time.
Oh, that's pretty good. I mean, some things never change, Some things never change. The sadness I had in my voice right there when I'm saying that I aim at people and I swear I'm hitting them, but they kill me every time. I mean, I still feel that exact same way, but I mean, that was the funniest clip I've heard, actually, because I'm being real and honest about how I'm gonna, probably quit after the pandemic, and I forgot that we were building this media empire, which, by the way, I've stuck to, and we still are doing. So just for the record, I believe I had that one. I didn't quit early. I'm still playing the game. I'm as addicted as I ever was. So, maybe I was being naive out there to think that this game wouldn't sink its hooks into me, but it has sunk them in, and now I'm stuck with you.
That's what I was hoping to hear. Is I wanted to hear some reassurance, like, this you're on now in the Warzone. Are you feeling that sense of you might walk away, or you're here to stay? You're here to Warzone 2, 3, fucking Warzone Infinity and beyond.
Was that a question? Are you asking me if I'm going to be? You want me to make that commitment right now to you?
I'd love to hear that, and I'm sure our listeners would.
Well, listen, you have been a rock in this thing while having twins, and the biggest life change you've probably ever had. So I owe it to you to stick with it. How about that?
Oh, I've never been more touched in my life on this podcast. I'll certainly be revisiting that on a daily basis anytime I'm down and sad. But that said, let's move on to our next clip, where this one, again, I think, we got to give ourselves some credit. I think on the onset on this episode, I realized as we were doing the episode live, I'm like, fuck, I feel like we're dissuading a lot of people from listening here, because we're just like, don't listen if you want news, and like, we fucking suck. And so let's listen to the next
We
clip.
fucking suck at this game, and we're not going to give you any useful information. So welcome to the Warzone Amateur Hour.
So, but I think, again, this clip really speaks truly, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts. So let's listen to that one now. I mean, but that said, this isn't some fucking waste of time here. We're going to provide some sort of insights, tips, new discoveries, which I guess maybe, some people out there have discovered before, but we're always seeking out ways to get better. We'll put in the time, not 80 hours a week, but we're on pretty regularly. We're in the zone, man, getting dubs here and there. We're not just total fuck-ups. We do have some victories here. We can hold our own in a firefight or two.
Sometimes, yeah.
I like how I have to bring you back to reality with this sometimes. Yeah. Oh man, I was so shitty back then. It's just funny how it informed every decision I made, was how shitty I was at the game. It is true. I've gained quite a bit of confidence over the last year and a half playing this game.
Oh, it was certainly noticeable. The last time we played, hearing you locked in, making snipes, getting clutches, winning games for us. And,
I did have I think I had 2 clutches this week, which I've never, ever. Well, actually, I had 1 clutch and then 1 where I killed the last few guys, even though I think you guys were, the game I'm talking about, right? You and Sparks thought it was over, but then I ended up, so I guess that was a clutch technically, right?
I don't know, but I know at the onset, that very first episode, that was the week you had your first ever clutch, where you won the game for us. It was like a 1v1 situation on Verdansk. You got the dub. It was an incredible moment. We relived it. I think that clip even is still up on our YouTube.
Really?
Maybe not. If not, I'll see. I might have it somewhere lying around. But so many clutches now later. I think that, as we touched on, kind of to go back to what this podcast is, I think, again, we delivered. Like, we provide the insight. Maybe it's not the most up-to-date or the fastest, but, we're going to give you that information, man. And we're going to be there. We're not total amateurs. Again, we can hold ourselves our own in a fucking firefight or two sometimes. But other times, we drop in, we break our legs, or we vault over a wall into the ocean.
Yeah. I haven't broken my legs in a really long time, by the way, or fallen in the ocean in a really long time.
Well, that certainly is progress compared to back then. I can't say the same for myself, although I guess lately I've been doing a little better. But, I'm always trying to push the limit on how low I can cut that chute.
I saw you sent a clip to the friends. I actually were dropping chem. I was downed by a guy. Oh, and I'm sure this has to be like a kill comm of the week situation here, right? Like, you killed this guy who had just downed me. You killed him and then rezzed me, but you made an incredible dive through the chem window, which I know you've had trouble with in the past. So it certainly seems you've improved a little bit there.
Well, yeah, I notoriously haven't really talked about it on the podcast, but notoriously bad at fucking parachuting in early on into windows, especially on Rebirth. You're going to float over to, let's say, chem, I think is the biggest one. I'm always trying to land in that upper window, always missing it, always hitting the wall, going a little too high, a little too low, just blowing it. But then lately, I don't know, something's kind of clicked. I think I'm being a little more conservative, not trying to just really, finesse it straight in. But yeah, that was one where it really paid off being able to hit that, come in the room. But we'll talk about that clip a little later.
I mean, I wouldn't say that it's like you have an issue going into windows. I think you just have an issue pulling your chute generally. And of course, that translates to the fine tuning of landing inside of small windows while you're shooting down. So,
well, I'm certainly trying to get better.
Which you are.
Many leg breaks, I'm sure those still to come.
Many snipes from God. Let's just put it that way.
That's right. Sniped. That brings me to a point of the cowboy incorrectly using that. He goes, "Oh, I broke my legs." And he goes, I got sniped.
Yeah, I can't lie like you.
You gotta go to it right away. It's built in. I broke my legs. That's that much. But that said, we're on to kind of our final few clips here. And this, to me, I think, is the most poignant that I really want to hear the updated answer now over a year in, is way back then. In that very first episode, I asked you, I said, why do you, Cowboy, why do you play Warzone? And this was your response. I have a few questions prepared, and the first one is to you, Cowboy, and I'm going to ask all of our guests who we have on here over the years, because this will be going on for years, I know it. I'm here to ask you, why do you play Warzone?
I find myself asking myself that all the time, because so many times I am throwing the controller, I'm twisting it between my hands because I'm so frustrated. I'm screaming into my microphone because I get killed prematurely. It's funny. It's like fishing, man. My dad's a professional fisherman. It's what he does for a living. I've been fishing my whole life. Saltwater fishing, none of that freshwater shit. But, you go fishing and it's so much time and it's so much effort. But when you actually get one, it's a really beautiful thing. And it's like this sick addiction where you're chasing this short-lived high, which I guess comparably to Warzone would be the win, And I have only been on 4 winning teams or something like that. In the 6 months that I've been playing Warzone, I've only won 4 times. We have friends that we play with regularly that have over 100 wins, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, I have 4 wins, I don't play as much as some of our friends, but I'm definitely not as good as some of my other friends. But why do I play? It's because I'm a sick fucking addict that is living for the high of the win. Because I got a fucking win yesterday, my first win in a long time, where for the first time, it was the best game I ever played. For the first time, I got the final kill on the map, final 2 kills technically, final kill on the map. I had 6 kills total, and for me, for the 10-Inch Cowboy, that was the best game I've ever had. And the feeling I got after the game, whoo! I mean, you just don't get that in regular life. It's hard to explain. When as a kid you compete in sports, you're doing shit. You're always you strike someone out, you hit a home run, you score a touchdown. As an adult, as a slightly overweight working from home adult, I just don't get those victories anymore. You know what I mean? And I actually got one. I felt that shit. You know what I mean?
Wow. I'm kind of speechless after that one. That was the analogy to fishing Calling it back to how, we're getting older and you just don't get those wins. I mean, it's true. It's kind of like, it's competition space. You're competing. It's like if you have that competitive bone in your body, like the Warzone is like a platform for you to, compete in a way. And I mean, I still feel that way totally. It's just like tripping me out that at that point I only had like 4 wins. Like a win meant like a lot. We get wins all the time now. Not that we're great or anything, but it's just, wow, that I think more than any of these clips was like a walk down memory lane. And damn, like listening to myself, I can speak pretty fucking good. You know what I mean? Those are some good analogies, man.
I gotta say, I think a tear streamed down my cheek listening to that for so many reasons. Yes, the analogy itself, I remember when you were giving it, I was like, oh, this is good. This is incredible. And I didn't expect it, but it ended up being perfect. As I said afterwards, it's kind of like the old man in the sea. You get out in that boat, you try and find that fish, and when you do, it's an incredible high. But what happens? You throw them back in the lake and you try and catch them again. Chasing those victories, as you said, yes, only 4 lifetime wins. Looking back now, you have, I think, over 200 on Rebirth alone. I gotta believe 50, maybe 100 plus on big map, battle royale shebanger. So much has changed, but is that still why you play it? Is it for chasing that high? Has that changed at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think for sure. I think the wins are what it's all about. It's like these moments you have when you're playing the game. It's funny that I bring up fishing. It's like you spend so much time getting ready to fish, and then the preparation and the waiting, and there's so much that goes into it, and then it's like for such like a short moment of bliss, And even sometimes that moment of bliss is a letdown if you say you break the fish off or you lose it for some reason. And that hurts a lot. But in Warzone, it's funny, it's so similar. It's like you put so much time into play, and then you have those and now maybe the difference is it's like the victories come a little more frequently. So it's not necessarily just the victory that you're chasing, but it's like certain things that happen, the way the game unfolds, the way that you play to get the victory, like whether it's a clutch or something like that. Now it's like a little bit more specialized, like hitting certain snipes, it's like it's becoming more refined on what that really great high is. But it's certainly an addiction. And I don't think I would change what I said in that clip very much, because it was, to toot my own horn, it was pretty well said, and I think it still applies today. What do you think?
I think that's a great point. It's just kind of maybe advanced beyond that, because yes, back then we weren't so good. We would chase, let me have a few kills this game, that'd be cool. But really the ultimate high or victory was a victory in and of itself. We really played for that. But now we can get joy. We can have those games where maybe we don't get the win, but we get like a 7-8 kill game, 10 kill game, or you're just really sniping your ass off, or you get like a badass move where you make a nice rotation. So I agree. I think it's just kind of maybe advanced to where we're getting, I think, just more consistent ways to enjoy the game outside of just that little blue, banner across the screen, Warzone victory. But incredible answer. That question then was posed to me, not nearly as articulate or, well thought out answer, but here is what I had to say for why I play the Warzone way back then. That's why I play, is the chasing the win, but I think more so than that, it's the camaraderie, man. It's with your boys. You're fucking hunkered down in an area. You got dudes closing in. You're telling your buddies, you're like, fucking this and that. Get him, motherfucker. And they're like, oh, good job, dude. And then I'm like, hey, man, thanks. And then
it must be nice to get kudos from your friends. I'm usually on the side of like, where the fuck were you? What the fuck happened?
Were you doing, cowboy?
Yeah, exactly. That's my wheelhouse.
Well, how do you feel about that now?
I think more than ever, it's just so true. Although we're not in a pandemic, life, it comes at you fast. Things change. You and I think at the time were seeing each other more frequently. Now we're more far apart. I got all these other shits going on in my life, my other friends. But in the end, having that little time, get on the mic, hear those familiar voices. Like, I feel like we had a friend gathering some point a few months ago, and it was the first time like so many of us Warzone players were together in person. but I felt like I knew that person. It's like I haven't seen you in so long, but I've heard your voice on my mic. I've been seeing your avatar. We've been running around.
We talk every single day, you know?
We do.
It's crazy.
And, between matches, you're catching up on life stuff. You're still chatting. And to me, I think that's really an incredible thing. The cross-play element, a huge part of that. So to me, that's what's most enriching about this game. Obviously, the wins are awesome, but it means nothing if I get it by myself or, with nobody's. But when I'm with my boys, like we said, we make a great play. We kick ass together. Like I didn't get a lot of that as a kid and stuff, but I'm getting a little bit of that now, and I savor every fucking moment I got.
Yeah, it's funny. I only really play with either listeners or my friends, you guys, and it's like I would never play by myself. I did plunder last week to get some, those notches for the Vargo off the list there, but I was quite bored, man. It's like you want to play with your friends. It's like sharing that experience too. It's like that's what it's all about. It's very much like a sports team, or if anyone's played competitive sports, when you're with like a team, it's all about those memories that you share. It becomes such like a bond. I didn't think this was going to get so sentimental, but you know what I'm saying? Like it is so much deeper than it appears topically, like people think like, oh, he's just playing video games. It's like, no, I'm actually like hanging out with my friends in a digital space, baby. It's like, it is so social. This game is so social. And that's why I still really love it. I mean, I would not be as into it if it wasn't for playing with our community and my friends,
100%. And I know so many people in the community echo that. They have their group of friends they drop in with. I know even on our Discord, we had a father and son sharing a victory they got together, which was just incredible. But we want to hear from y'all out there. Why do you play Warzone? Has it changed? Is it still the same? Hit us up. If we get responses, we'll be sharing those. But that said, in terms of revisiting our opening episode, we have one final clip, which I believe has changed a lot in terms of this, but I wanted to give an updated kind of version of it. So we'll play the original first, and that was we went ahead and we diagnosed or gave a summary of each other's kind of play styles.
Oh, wow.
And,
okay.
Sized us up for the Warzone. So let's listen to that now, and then we will give an update where I'll give my take on the Cowboy, and you can give the Tron. So let's play that one now.
Yeah, how about you describe my gameplay, please? I'd love to hear you break me down. Psychoanalyze my COD playing.
Okay, you are I don't know any much about the military shit, but you're like the private. Like you're fucking new to the regimen. You don't want to make decisions. You want the chain of command. You want the fucking sergeant to hand you a shovel and say, I want you to fucking dig this ditch. And you're going to fucking dig the shit out of the ditch, which is like to your credit. You give you a fucking job. You're going to do that job with pride and you're going to execute it. Like I've been on games with you where we're like holding down a building or something. You're like, I'm going to fucking watch this stairwell. And I can trust that whatever else I'm doing, that stairwell is going to be watched.
Thanks. That means a lot. Wow. I mean, I might die. I'm probably going to die watching that stairwell, but I'm going to watch it till I die.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's flip it over now. What about me?
So I think, oh man, you did such a good job, and I feel like I'm going to do such a poor job. That was a great analogy. Like, you're right. I'm like a private. You're more like shit. So I think I'll start with your terrible shot. So I would not put you in the category of like assassin or killer or someone that's, contributing in that level. But you are good at like the tactical, like, okay, well, there's this here, there's that there. Like you're like a strategist. You're like the chess player in the group.
Okay. Thank you.
I mean, that's a compliment. You got the mind, baby. You're there.
All right. Okay, well, I guess we can revisit that a bit later. Not the highest praise there. I did hear you criticizing my shot the other day, but as you said yourself, you're no fucking marksman over here, dude. You're no Doc Holliday.
I've never considered myself a Doc Holliday at all, but I will be your Huckleberry, baby.
Wow. Oh, I'm not surprised you chose that clip. Great. Yeah, you want to go first?
Well, first off, reactions. Do you think that was an accurate portrayal back then? Do you remember those times?
I think I do. I think I do. I don't remember you being a bad shot, because I definitely wouldn't say you're a bad shot now. But I don't remember being you that bad of a shot. But I remember myself being a terrible shot and like spazzing out when people would turn a corner. I'd be like, oh, and I'd shoot the wall next. I couldn't, so that's changed for me. And maybe that's what I was talking about with you. But no, what do you think? I got some thoughts, but I think you should maybe speak first.
Yeah, I'll go first. I do now, looking back, fondly remember those times early on. You did. You wanted to be shepherded around. You liked having a job. You liked being, like you took pride when you were like the Pila guy, which was awesome. But I gotta say, yeah, certainly changed in terms of now. Like the Cowboy, I would say he is kind of like the sniper, but not even so much as a sniper. And like, you're somebody that is like a rock in the game. Like you don't really rush off and push into buildings. You're going to hold steady on the command, have like the bird's eye view. You're going to be calling out where the fuckers are. You're going to be getting downs. And a lot of times you're going to be coming in and, saving the bacon, whether it's getting the kills like late when we need you, coming in, save the day, or you just staying a fucking live so we can get back into the game. So I'm certainly not a private. You've moved up like to maybe like, I don't know the rankings, but it's certainly like a base kind of commander, and much more stable, much more confident. And you're willing to make calls about, I think we should rotate this way, or here's how we should play it. So quite a bit of maturation, quite a bit of skill upgrades, and glad to have you as a teammate still.
Thank you. So I've evolved past ditch digger.
Yes, yeah. You no longer got the shovel. You got the map and the binoculars in hand. You're circling fucking areas and you're saying we're gonna do this.
Wow. You know what I noticed about this clip, and then is that you went first and you praised me in like a very slight backhanded way. But it meant a lot, because at the time, even though I was a ditch digger, I wanted to be a ditch digger because I didn't have the confidence or the shaputzpah to be ready to take on a one-on-one battle. And again, you spoke first this time, and just like that first clip where I roasted you and said you were a bad shot, now I get the last word here, which I'm really happy about. But actually, I'm just kidding. I'm surprised that I was so critical of you back then. Your gameplay, I'm trying to remember what your gameplay was like. I think we were pretty similar in the beginning, but you had been playing video games for a lot longer before me. So you had just a overall general grasp of how, it worked. That we talk about that too, that there was this fear when we initially started playing the game. Like it was like way more visceral and way more scary playing Warzone when I first started, Now it's like, I don't give a shit. Like, I'll jump off a bridge. I don't care. Like, whatever. We'll respawn. It's different now. Like, the stakes are lower, I feel like. But back then, I felt like the stakes were so high. So I think that you back then kind of were obviously better at the time. You nowadays, it's funny. You're not a sniper at all. Like, I don't ever, now that I'm thinking about it, remember like where you're like, I'm sniping. Like, you're never grabbing the car loadout. You're not sniping very often. You love your center controllable ARs. You love your AKs and your M13s. I think that your strength as a player is your steadiness, and actually your ability, and I hate to say this because I give you so much shit about it all the time, but your ability to kind of like facilitate health amongst the team, if that makes sense. Like whether it's plates, whether it's money, staying on top of like the things that need to get done to keep the team moving along. You know what I mean? I don't really know like the military. I'm not like a military individual. I'm trying to think about what role that would be in the military. Someone that's like kind of like making sure that the team is like in check and ready to go and confident and ready for battle. I don't know what that would be, but I feel like that's your role. I mean, you obviously, both of our games have gotten a lot better. You can roll in and kill people. You're obviously not like I wouldn't say you're a bad shot at all anymore, but it's more now like You're not like I still wouldn't say you're an assassin or a killer. You know what I'm saying? I think that you're more of like a utility player. And I mean that in an endearing way. Does that make sense?
Well, I'll certainly take all of that over the chess player.
But I think actually, I forgot that I said that. I think that still applies.
Well, I appreciate that. I try to pride myself as being the team player, is trying to support the team any ways I can. If that means going into the gas to get a buyback, probably not going to make it out. I'll do it. But yeah, I thought that was pretty remarkable to go back to listen to that episode. As we said, you all, it's on our catalog. Go back, listen to the whole thing, share your thoughts. It's a trip down memory lane. We're now over a year in the Warzone on the Warzone Amateur Hour and 2 years of Warzone. So many times, though, left ahead. So many awesome memories and things to discuss. But that is going to do it for us on this week. A very special week on the Warzone Amateur Hour. Thank you all so much for dropping in with us. As the Cowboy we touched on much earlier, we had some incredible death comms this week. We're going to be featuring a few of those on our YouTube, one of which I can't seem to download. It's actually of the Cowboy himself, so I'm going to be tweeting that out, a link to that. Pretty incredible death comm there.
Wait, what?
Yeah, incredible death comm.
You clipped me?
So somebody else did and shared it amongst our friends, and it was incredible. So I have to share it amongst our community. To hear the rage, the pain, the anger, it goes back to, like he said in the opening episode, of wanting to quit the game, hating it. But the more things change, the more they stay the same. So we will talk to you all next week, as always. And until then,
Good luck in the gulag.